everybody. Listen, good afternoon. I hope that you are having a phenomenal day. Please do me a favor, tune in. You want to share, you want to like. I am yours truly, Elvis Piggott, hosting Florida You Judge on today with one of the greatest, amazing co-hosts, none other than Keela McCaskill. We are so grateful to be here with you all. Good, hot conversation coming ahead. And we want to talk about some things that's happening right here in Hillsborough County, not just with the Democratic Party, but also with the Republican Party. So we're going to have our special guest today is Scott Levinson. And I'm so grateful to be able to hear his perspective. We've seen things in the news. We've seen things in the paper. We've seen things in the La Gazette. Now we get to see directly and hear from the horse's mouth how he feel about this defeat. And so, without further ado, Keela, I'm going to give you a few words there.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Scott, for taking the time to join us here on this show. I think it makes for a great show. So I am super excited. We start every show off with just getting right into it. And so a lot of people, we may not have been familiar with Scott Levinson. So we want to know the normal Scott, just who you are, everyday Scott, and then walk us up through your journey of how we got here today.
I can do that for you. First of all, guys, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm sure we're going to have a good time and enjoy it. As you said, I have been here in Tampa my whole life. I will be 59 years old in April, and grew up here in Tampa, went to school here, went away after high school to New Orleans, went to Tulane, came back to Tampa, went into the food business, and really got involved with the youth. Started off as a youth advisor at my synagogue, working with children, and got involved with the Tampa Bay Youth Football League as a volunteer, as a coach. And lo and behold, I spent 30 years there working with the kids, football, cheer, education, working with their families. And it was probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. You know, of course, excluding my family, my kids, and so forth. But the privilege, you know, everyone says, oh my God, I did something for 30 years. I worked for 30. It was a privilege to be able to work with those families and to have parents entrust me to take care of their kids was a privilege, and I consider it one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. In doing that, I wanted to show the kids a few years back that they can do whatever they put their mind to, whatever they want to do. And I said, you know what, I'm going to run for Hillsborough County Commission. I had been around the community, the 30 years, people knew me. I ran in the primary. Everyone thought I was nuts. I had a whopping $900 to my opponent's 60-something thousand. And knock on wood, we won the primary. I ended up going to the general election, lost by a little over a point. But it was the most amazing experience I had, meeting so many different people, the people I knew coming out to support me. We did not raise a lot of money, and it truly was, when they talk about grassroots in politics, we started at the mud. We had to grow the roots to get rolling. But I'll tell you, everyone talks about politics being dirty this, dirty that, and it is, don't get me wrong. But it is fun, and you have to make it fun and enjoy it because it's an education. And I wanted to show the children what you can do. I never dreamt we would have won a primary. I never would have dreamt where we got. And here we are now. I'm still involved. You know, yeah, I didn't win, but I've always been a firm believer. You don't need a title to make a difference and to help out in the community. And I plan on staying involved. I really love helping the children, backpack events, Halloween events, trunk or treats, working with the community, working with the police in the neighborhoods. And it's just something I really enjoy. I thank my parents for instilling that in me. And here we are now. And I don't plan on slowing down. Whatever it is I can do, I'm there.
I love it.
Absolutely great. Well, Scott, listen, I was fortunate to meet you. I think you came to Tea and Conversations a couple times there
Absolutely.
when you was running for office, and we talked about things of the community. If I'm not mistaken, you ran for District 1. Correct. Yes, District 1 at that time. And I think your challenger was Harry Cohen.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So we talked and talked about what you would do for the community and all of those things. But something recently has transpired and took place because you did not just run for office and stop your political aspirations. It seemed as if you stayed involved with the Republican Party. You stayed involved with the things that was happening in your community. And as of February 8th, something took place. You had been involved in your Hillsborough County Republican Party,
Yes.
and you guys had an election recently.
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit about what inspired you to want to actually be the head of that organization.
I am a guy that believes in climbing mountains and getting to the top and then looking for the next mountain. And I wanted to make a difference in our what we call our HREC, our Hillsborough Republican Executive Committee. And what I wanted to do was change it. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to get it more involved in the community, as you said. Being in politics, I realize the short time I've been in it, it is a game unto itself. But there are different bodies, clubs on both sides, all sides, that are based in politics. And not only did I want to continue that trend, but I wanted to take the HREC and get it involved in the Hillsborough County communities as I did for 30 years with the children. And I feel that we can't pop up every 4 years. I think we have to be in the community, helping the community, not one side or the other, but being a force in the community all the time, not just when elections pop up, and not just for politics. Like I said, we did get involved. We did backpack handouts before school, trunk or treats, getting involved with tutoring, and getting out and helping the communities, not necessarily as Republicans, Democrats, but just as people concerned. I think we get those stigmatism placed on us. Oh my God, the Republicans, they're not going to go into the inner city, the minorities. And to me, and Elvis, you've talked to me, like you said at Tea and Conversations. I'm not that guy. I don't see inner city, outer city, sub. To me, we are one. It's one community. I
Well,
don't look at it otherwise.
not to cut you off, uh, not to cut you off, but I often always challenge one when they say they don't see those things. And the reason why I will always challenge, I want to make it very clear. I am an African American man, and yet I am also a Republican African American man. But let's make it very clear that we know without a doubt that that is a difference between Hyde Park and East Tampa. We know without a doubt there's a difference between Channel Side and Nebraska. So
No doubt.
we know that there is black and white, right? And so when we don't see it, we fail to act to make it better. And so when one say I don't see, it worries me a bit because we need to see.
No,
Because when we
I see it.
change.
I see it. I just never let it change what I was doing. Do I
Gotcha.
see it with other people? Do I see it with people in my own party? Oh my God, we're going to go into the inner city door knocking, or we're going to, and we talk about it differently. We act about it differently. But the truth of the matter is, I shouldn't be talking to you any different than I should be talking to anyone else.
That is correct.
And where you talk about Hyde Park or Channel Side, good, bad, or indifferent, that's not where I spent my last 30 years. I spent my last 30 years at Nucio Park. I spent my last 30 years at Progress Village, at West Chase, at Citrus Park, at Jackson Heights. So I spent my last 30 years in Hillsborough County. You know, but you're right. You're very right that people from Hyde Park, when you say, why don't you come on down to College Hill for this event, that event, you know, there's a recoil. And let's not pretend when we tell someone from Nucio, come on to Hyde Park, there's a recoil there too. So I feel people like you, me, whatever, we know there is a problem. We see there's a difference. We just choose to do what we're going to do.
Got you. And so, and you know, just to piggyback off, you said the recoil when you tell somebody to come from Hyde Park over to East Tampa, that recoil typically is almost like, are you kidding me? Are you crazy? That's beneath me. I can never go over there. It's dangerous. It's not safe. Things of that nature, because I've heard it, right? And so now when you, the other way around, when you tell somebody from Nucio to go Hyde Park, it is one, because it's, oh, they won't accept me. It's more rejection. It's not that they don't want to. It's that they're not welcome. So, you know, so it's still a difference, recoil of why one feel one way versus the other. And
I get it. And you know what? You know, before we even walked in here today, you're not going to get an argument out of me.
hey,
I mean, I'm going to agree with you across the board.
and I think and so you ran, because me being African American and being a Republican in Hillsborough County, we know the last election for Board of County Commissioners, the Republicans made a big statement. They made a big statement. They came and they swept the board. They unseated one I love, Mariella Smith, Democrat. They unseated Kimberly Overman. You know, that was major shaking in Hillsborough County, because you know, you're talking Democratic county, you're talking strong commissioners, you're talking incumbents, and they lost.
No,
Both.
you're right. You're
And
right. Unfortunately, right before the election, if you remember, my district, and was it because I came so close the first time? I don't know. You know, we can throw a lot of things up in the air. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. That's just not who I am all the time. When it is, it is. But when they took away South County from me, Keystone, Odessa, it put me in a position where it was tough. But you know what? You have a good time doing it. I ran against Harry Cohen. He was a gentleman during the election. Obviously, my politics and his don't agree on everything. I'm sure we agree a lot. We're both born and raised Jewish guys here in the area. So we do have a lot in common. But because we might not agree on politics does not make him a bad person. I actually find Harry, I call him a friend, and I enjoy having conversations with him. We don't have to agree on everything, and people need to learn that more and more.
And it was such a sweep. It was an alarm for Hillsborough County. Everybody saying, "Wow!" I got tons of calls. Did you see that? Which I thought was very necessary, right? Necessary, because we have people believing that you're just going to automatically vote Democrat. They're believing that they don't have to get out on the ground and ask for the vote and get on the ground and give their plan and let the African American community and every other community know, why should I vote for you? And Hillsborough County has been in a place of complacency when it comes to the votes. They are complacent to believe, because we are a blue county, that we'll always win when we run a blue individual that's Democrat. Well, it was that election that turned the tables to let them know you got to put in the work. And so kudos to the Republican Party on that big sweep. Hillsborough County Republican Party strategically strategized to get it done. We have other races that's coming, but you cannot get on the field. And what it also shows me is a discombobulated Democratic Hillsborough County Party. That's what it showed me. It showed me that the party was discombobulated, and it showed unity from the Republican Hillsborough County Party. And so now that came, you guys had an African American woman that was the chairperson of the Republican Hillsborough County Republican Party, decided to resign, basically stepped away, and there came a special election. In this special election, you decided to put your hat in the ring. You said, I'm going to throw my hat in, and someone else decided to throw her hat in, who actually became the actual new chair, Carmen. She threw her hat in and she became the chair. Not in lengthy detail, but tell me, Scott, how did that go about? You ran that race. You did not win it. Tell me a little bit about it.
When Dana Galen left office, there became a need for a special election. I talked to some people and decided that, okay, I will, as you said, throw my hat in the ring and run for the position, because I still feel, title or no title, that a difference can be made, that we can improve on what we're doing. The election, anyone could get nominated from the floor the night of. But as far as the election went and the campaigning, it was myself and Carmen Edmonds. Carmen and I had been friends. She had helped me on my previous campaigns. And it was why you had people on both sides that were excited about us running, and they were playing the political games, this, that, the other. Oh, Scott's a rhino, or Carmen did this, or whatever. You try to ignore that stuff, and you run your race, and you try to get along. And in short, the day before the race, Carmen and I had spoke, and we had discussed that maybe it might be better for the rec that if she continued doing what she's doing with her canvassing and the precincts and so forth. She does an amazing job at that. She really has. Like you talked about us winning in the past elections, she has done an amazing job for the rec. I originally met her when she was working for Rosie Paulson over at Latinos for Trump. And she does a great job, and she still does at that. And we just felt we had different skill sets. My skill set might be better set for the chairman, out raising money because of my contacts and because of my involvement in the community. Not only that, a lifelong resident of almost 59 years, to Carmen being here for 5 years, roughly. So we met, and we talked about it that day. I was then called later and asked to come to a meeting, and myself, Carmen and the acting chairman at the time, Rick Kuntz, met. And we discussed what I had just said, that we would go into the election the next day, and Carmen and I would go in with the premise of working together. Her and I would go up in front of the group together and tell them our plan. And we went there that night, or I went there that night with the intentions. I had heard earlier in the day that the rumor got out, and I'm sure other people heard. And when we got there that night, at that point, I was told that she had decided to run because if she didn't, someone else from the floor would be nominated. Of course, we knew that was always a possibility going in. And she made the decision that, well, because of that, whatever deal we had made, whatever agreement we had made to move forward, before the election, she decided, no, we're not going to do that. And she ran, and she did win by 8 votes. She won.
Okay, she won.
Wow.
So she won. Now that was controversy around her win because how you described it was very great. And I want to put a pin here for a second, Keela, to just piggyback, because I was also a member of the DNC, that's the Democratic Executive Committee in Hillsborough County. I was a member of that party. And each event, you probably can count on 2 hands how many African Americans was in the room. You almost had to beg the chair or anybody over there to allow an African American to even have a committee position in the top. That was they put in one. I think I probably ran a couple times, and by far that wasn't happening. I just want to put a pin in that for the viewers to understand that in the Republican Executive Committee there in Hillsborough County, they had an African American woman as the chairperson who ran that organization. And there's a stigma. And Scott, the reason why this story intrigues me is because while there was an election there, while there was pretty much a little controversy around how that win came about, and we're going to hear a little bit about that. I want to make sure that the viewers understand that we have to remove the stigma that Black belongs to Democrat and white mean Republican, or poor is Democrat, or rich is Republican. And that's a bad stigma, because I can say that in my experience, there is racist Republicans, there's racist Democrats. There are broke Republicans, there are broke Democrats. There are rich Democrats, there are rich Republicans. The party does not, I have seen and I have heard within the Democratic Party sitting there, where the whole party in a meeting got up and apologized to a candidate for not voting or supporting him when he was the only one in the race, the Democrat. We didn't support him, or we didn't vote for him because 2 things: his color and his speech. I've heard that. I've also heard the Democratic Party, why the Democrats have been fortunate in all this time never to have to support an African American person. Why? Because on the Board of County Commission, you have 1 Black seat, which is District 3. Most people that run for District 3 is Democrat. When you have on the school board, you have District 5. Majority of the people running in that seat is going to be Democrat. City Council, you have District 5. Majority of those people are going to be African American Democrats. Well, guess what? According to the bylaw, no party can support a Democrat against another Democrat, which means the Democratic Party technically gets to get bailed out and never have to support an African American Democrat because they're always running against each other in the same seats. So,
and what's sad is that
you know what, guys, in me being a Jewish man, there's not a lot of Jewish, Jews are associated with the Democrat Party for the most part, not Republican Party. I am a minority, being Jewish, I am a minority in the Republican Party. And
I like to kill that stigma. Keela, what was you about to say?
No, I was just going to say, and what they're not considering is that I'm non-party affiliate. I go back and forth. I don't follow party line. I'm back and forth. Sometimes I want to be Republican. Sometimes, just depending on what associates with my values. When I look at what each person represents, how closely aligned is it to what I believe? But there are a lot more people like me. This younger, anybody 35 and under, or 35 and up to 55, that group, and anything they're under 35, they're also, I take all the way down to 21 and up to 55. They're a different group of people. So to leave them out and just assume that you're a Democrat, that they're going to vote for you, that's not so. People are paying attention to their views and what they believe in and what you supported, and then they vote. So there's no loyalty to a party line.
You're right. I have two 31-year-old sons and a 25-year-old son. My one, the 31-year-old says, blow it all up, get rid of all the parties, and just vote for who you're going to vote for. And he says, you want to know why only 40%? And he's right. He simplified it. 40% of the public votes. Why? As long as they got beer in the fridge and sports on TV, they're happy.
Right. And so, we have that. But the controversy came because you found yourself in a rock and a hard place in this election, that when you put your name in the hat, you felt without you knew that you was able to attain enough support to actually be the man that sits at the head of this party. But something happened. What is that?
As I said, the night before the election, we had an agreement.
Who's we?
Myself and Carmen, like I said earlier. Rick, who was the acting chairman at the time, was also at that meeting. We had an agreement, and we were going to keep it quiet because we didn't want people to not show up. We still wanted people to show up to the meeting. But I guess it got out because by 11:30 that next day, at the governor's luncheon, people were coming up to me saying, oh, I hear you're the only candidate now. So, some people didn't show up. The elected officials that were in Tallahassee in session were told that they had to be there in person to vote. As it turns out, no, they could have voted by a phone call during the meeting or a video. Now, am I saying there was any devious that was done on purpose? I can't say that, and I'm not going to say that. All I know is you're asking me, do I believe the votes were there? If it was just none of this had happened, yes. And if they were allowed to vote, yes. I believe a wise man might have said a few minutes earlier that, well, you screwed up, Scott. You took your foot off the gas. You should have kept calling people, and it's politics, and you should have known better in politics. Now, that was a very wise man that said that in a red hat. And you're right. You're right. And did I take my foot off the gas? Yes. I trust people. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But I trust people. And was that a mistake on my part? Yes. Was anything illegal done? No, I wouldn't say it was illegal. Are there questions about were people allowed to vote late and not being there on time? Sure, there might be. But I'm a 30-year football coach. I'm not one to sit there and complain about one play during the game costing the game, but when a lot of bad calls add up. But do I think if we back it up and there was never those discussions the night before, if we didn't handshake the agreement the night before, yeah, I think it would have been different. I think it would have been very different. And for me to find out that that all went away 20, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it was, the night of, and I said this in a letter I wrote, I don't blame anyone, but I would have been more prepared. Again, that's me. I didn't bring my flyers. I didn't bring my literature. When people said, hey, I'm hearing that you're the only one running now, I was going to come, but I have to get my son or daughter to this or that. We didn't think it was a big deal at that time. My bad. My bad. That's on me because it's politics. And I should have known better. But was there a deal made? Yes. Yes. And I'm not going to say it was a sham. I can't say that it was a setup, but I can say that I think there would have been a different outcome. That's all.
I do think in politics sometimes it does get relaxed. Like you get at some point it gets like you're in a relaxed environment. Because I will never forget this, and you all probably remember when Trump and Jeb Bush was running against. It was Trump, right? The two of them were running against each other, huh?
Not Jeb Bush, no, not Trump.
Whoever was running against Trump was out
no,
there.
Jeb was in the primary.
Yeah,
Jeb
yeah.
was in the primary. Yeah.
So Jeb Bush is like somebody who I thought was going to be on it. This is going to be a representative. He got it, I'm sure. And one day I Googled to see what Jeb Bush was talking about, and Donald Trump showed up. They were asleep. They lost their domain name. They weren't paying attention. So that showed me that you get relaxed and you couldn't buy it back. So when you go look at your Jeb Bush, Donald Trump and all his campaign information showed up. They were asleep. They slept on it. And so in politics, I've learned and been watching, you can never not saying this to you, but you can never be relaxed and you really can't sleep. It's a blood sport and these people are looking for any window of opportunity.
No, you can say it to me because hindsight's 2020. And,
right.
The old saying, asleep at the wheel. But again, I'm a handshake guy.
Right.
Well, I'm learning.
Well, as we're getting ready to wrap up, I want to say this because in the Black community, we say something like this: you stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So always stay ready. All right. So you want to stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
You're dead on, man.
We want, and I will say this lastly, if you can give me about 60 seconds of this, Scott. Now that she is the head, what is the plans? Because we want to galvanize behind her. We want to get behind her. We want to continue to push. There's races coming up, and we don't need any kind of division in the Republican Party. We want to make sure that all those 96 people that supported you understand that, hey, we're moving forward and we're getting behind her. We're realigning, and we're trying to push that agenda to continue to turn these seats to the place where things can actually happen in all communities. The Black community and all these communities, we need real things to happen, and we don't constantly need to continue to feel like we have no other option besides the Democratic Party. There are options, and we want to make sure that these options is out there and we're not going against each other. Have we got together? Have you and Carmen had a conversation since she has been named the chairwoman?
We have, after I wrote the letter and before the letter, but in the last 3 weeks, no, we have not spoken. I did went and for 2 days and represented the party at the Florida Gun Show. I am still involved. I do not walk away. Like I said, I'm a football coach. You lose a game, you play better the next one. And no, I'm not walking away. I've been working with candidates, helping them raise funds, helping them organize, setting up, getting walkers for them. I am not one to disappear. And like you said when the show started, I'm still here. A lot of people run, they might lose a race, and then you don't hear from them again. No, I'm still here because I feel our communities in Hillsborough County is my home, and I feel we still have a lot to give. I think that there can be successes in the upcoming elections, but to this point, no, we have not sat down and said, okay, we have basically a split rec, like you said, those few votes, whatever. How do we coalesce? How do we not, have the I hate to use this, but how do you have the all for Trumps or the never Trumpers? And I don't want to see that in our rec either. But to this point, no. If there is a plan, I'm not aware of it. I'm not opposed to any plans. I'm just not aware of any.
Well, Scott, I really, because you ran for that position, and a great discussion. Thank you so much, Ella. I really would say to you, Scott, while we are here, and this is as we're wrapping it up and closing, I do hope that you'll reach out. I do hope that we'll get that, because at the end of the day, it's big things happening in Hillsborough County, and bigger than that, we have a presidential election coming. And why we have always heard that our life depend on it, I want to say our life depend on this election. And we cannot afford 4 more years of chaos. And so I will ask, and I will hope that you guys will get together, that you guys will really just figure out what we can do, unite as this party, and show that real unity, because unity wins seats, and unity is going to get Hillsborough County come this presidential election. They're working, they're galvanizing, they're trying their best to do what they can to flip these seats back. And it takes unity, and it takes getting out there to all communities, even East Tampa, even East County, letting them know that at the end of the day, African-American voices matter, as well as all other voices. And we're not asking for anything free. We're asking for us to be able to have the same privileges and the same living that everyone else has had. And so I hope that we can get behind this. I hope that we can push this behind us. Scott, thank you so much for coming on, expressing yourself. I look for great things happening in the party, in the Republican Party here in Hillsborough County. I look forward to being involved. I look forward to getting behind our chair lady and pushing her to the place she needs to be. Just as if you was the chairman, I would look forward to getting behind you, pushing you. We want to get it done, and we want to do it together. So hopefully
there's a meeting Thursday night, next Thursday night. So hopefully, I'm sure it'll be an interesting meeting, and hopefully we learn a lot.
Yes, sir. Hopefully so. Co-host, anything else you have?
No, I thank you. Thank you for coming on. I think this is some good information, and hopefully you all enjoy the rest of the Saturday. Can't wait to see what comes up next once everything is all settled in. So thank you again for joining.
All right, come on, let's go. Appreciate you so much, Scott. Look forward to seeing you. Make it happen. Let's get there and get involved. Let's do it. Peace.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.